evening everyone, welcome to the online channel of Intelligent Classes. In the midst of current scenario, you are all aware with that what is happening and what is not. So in that scenario, we have decided to go online. This is our first class for commerce, and in that scenario, we are going to start with our BST class. As of now, you must be aware that what has been taught to you in our 12 classes. First of all, I'm going to take a quick preview of it. We have started chapter number 9, that is called Financial Management. And in this chapter, we have covered these following topics. Our first topic was concept of business finance. Once we were done with that, we were actually learning about financial management, which was topic number 2. And then we moved towards financial decisions. You all are well aware that financial decisions are 3 in number. First was investment decision, second was financing decision, and third was dividend decision. While learning all these 3 individual decisions, we have also learned their factors. As you can recall, in your notebook and notes, you can find that there are capital budgeting decision and factors, financing decision and factors, followed by dividend decision and factors. Now from here onwards, we are starting the new topic, and as you can see on the slide, the name of the topic is financial planning. This topic will be taught to you in 4 different slides. Let me be very clear in advance that what you will be learning throughout this entire program. First of all, you will be learning what is the entire concept of financial planning, followed by how financial planning will be absolutely different from financial management. Third, what are the objectives of doing financial planning, and what are the importance of financial planning. Starting with the first one, that is called concept of financial planning. Kindly pay attention. Financial planning refers to blueprint of organization's future operation, and that is what you call known as financial planning. See, you all know every organization has to plan their operation. Even if the person wants to start the business, immediately funds are not available. So availing fund, he has to plan in advance, and that's why he do the financial plan, and that's why financial plan word is always represented with the blueprint. I repeat my definition again. Financial planning refers to financial blueprint of organization's future operation, and that's why it is called financial plan. Following next, financial planning is always done with 2 objectives. There are 2 purposes because of which we do financial plan. The first objective says that right quantity of fund should be available at right time, which is the first part, and secondly, we also have to avoid idle finance. Let me spare a minute on this. What do I mean by right quantity of fund on a right time? Right quantity of fund matlab, say for an example, a business is looking for 400 crore after 6 months, then within the period of 6 months that 400 crore must come. The 400 crore signifies the amount and 6 months signifies the time. So if we do not have right quantity of fund at right time, then our financial planning is not making sense to us. Second, we also have to ensure that we do not have idle finance. Idle finance means money which is excess of the requirement. It is very well said that inadequate finance is always as good as excess finance. So if you have excess finance, it will lead to unnecessary cost. You can also call them as a non-productive utilization of expenses. So as I said that there are 2 objectives of financial plan. Right quantity of funds should be available at right time, and business firm also have to ensure that they do not raise idle finance. What is the drawback if we do not have right quantity of fund at right time? That we are going to understand next in few lines. If right quantity of funds are not available at right time, then firm will not be able to honor its objectives. You all know in future there are certain objectives that an organization has to fulfill. But for that, as you know, that the business fund would be a lifeblood, and if that blood is not available at right time, then the objective will not be achieved. So we need to have right quantity of fund at right time, otherwise whatever future commitments a business organization has made, that will not be achieved. Similarly, if we have excess fund, as I have said, inadequate fund and excess fund are both example of poor financial planning, then excess fund would always result in wasteful expenditure. Something that firm was not actually looking about, still companies investing in it without having any requirement. So this is the main thing which we always have to remember, that right quantity of funds should be available at right time, and secondly, firm has to avoid idle finance, because if right quantity of fund is not available at right time, then firm will not be able to honor its objective. On the other hand, excess fund would always result in wasteful expenditure. A small tip of knowledge which you should know, that financial planning is always having two types. First is called long term and the other is called short term. Long term financial planning refers to capital expenditure programs. Whenever organization is investing in land, building, plants, machinery, these are long-term expenses done at once. So that's why it is called capital expenditure program. And at the other way, short-term financial plan relates to budgeting. When you sanction budget for marketing or operation or sales or finance, let's say for a 1 quarter or for a month, then it is referred as budget. So I would quickly sum up that financial planning is of two types, long-term and short-term. Long-term financial planning is known as capital expenditure program. Short-term financial planning refers to budget. Quickly recapturing the entire slide, that what we have learned on this slide. We have learned what do we mean by financial plan, what are the objectives of having financial plan, and what are the types of financial plan. Quickly glancing through, financial plan refers to blueprint of organization future operation known as financial plan. Financial planning is done with twin objective. Right quantity of funds should be available at right time, and secondly, firm must avoid idle finance. And every financial plan is having two types, long term and short term. Long term financial planning relates to capital expenditure program. Short term financial planning relates to budgeting. So we have just completed our first part of learning. Our first part of learning was understanding the entire concept of financial planning. As I have told you that this entire program will require 4 slides of proper understanding. First part was related to concept of financial planning. Now we are going to go for a second part, and second part is going to make us understand the basic difference between finance management versus financial planning. My dear students, you are very well aware that financial management is the name of the chapter, and this was the only concept which I have taught you in advance. So now we are going to understand how financial management is absolutely different from financial planning, because many of the time this common mistake is always witnessed on the side of student, that they understand both as one in the same, which is not the truth. Let's understand how financial management and financial planning both are altogether different terms. Financial management and financial planning both are different terms. That was the only thing I was just saying a few minutes ago. Finance management is involved with procurement and usage of funds with respect to wealth maximization of shareholders. Let's spare a minute on this line. When we were learning this chapter, in the beginning, this was our concept, that what is meant by finance management. The definition used to come like this, that finance management is concerned with optimum procurement as well as usage of funds. So you can see same line is used almost in the same manner, that finance management is concerned with procurement and usage of funds with respect to wealth maximization of shareholders. So that is the only thing which we have to understand, that whatever fund is coming in the business, the finance manager is using it so that he can provide wealth maximization for shareholder. Otherwise, purpose of shareholder investing in the company is not served at all. So finance management is concerned with procurement and usage of fund with respect to wealth maximization for shareholders. Now this is the part of finance management. Now we are going to understand what is the part of financial planning. On the other hand, financial planning tries to forecast. Remember students, finance management is about management of fund. That means when the funds are in the business, they need to be managed. But financial planning is something which is working related to future, that when the fund will be required, from which sources it will be coming and where will be using. So financial planning is trying to forecast the requirement of fund both in terms of quantum as well as in terms of tenure. My dear friends, quantum stands for quantity and tenure stands for timing. If you just understand, in few minutes back I have told you that financial planning is all about getting the right quantity of fund at right time. So that is what it is trying to do. Financial planning is trying to forecast the requirement of funds both in terms of quantum as well as in terms of tenure, where quantum stands for quantity and tenure stands for timing. Quickly re-summarizing or recapturing the entire slide, that what we have learned, we have just learned the difference between finance management and financial planning. Finance management is concerned with procurement and usage of funds with respect to wealth maximization for shareholders. On the other hand, financial plan tries to forecast the requirement of fund both in terms of quantum as well as in terms of tenure. Patience is the key to the success. We are till now done with 2 topics. what is meant by financial planning, the entire concept, and secondly, we have completed the basic difference between financial planning and financial management. Now we are going, friends, with the third part, that is called objectives of financial planning. You may be wondering in the initial part of the slide that I have already touched that part, but my dear friends, that was very brief. If in board 3-mark question comes to you that explain in detail what are the objectives or what are the purpose behind conducting a financial plan, then you need to be answering in the way which you'll exactly see right now in the slide in few minutes. There are 2 objectives of conducting financial planning. I am taking you to the first one. The first point says ensuring availability of funds whenever required. When I say availability of funds, again I am talking about quantity, and when I am saying whenever required, obviously I am talking about timing. Let's see how do we explain this point. Financial plan aims that sufficient funds are available for different purposes. When I say sufficient fund, obviously it was about quantity, and when I say different purposes, there are timing, such as for purchase of assets, day-to-day business activity expenses, etc. Apart from this, financial plan also helps in estimating the time at which these funds should be available and from which sources. So if we conclude the learning of this point, financial planning is helping in understanding that what are the different purposes for which business will be requiring fund and what time this fund should be available to us from which sources. The second point says ensuring that firm do not raise funds unnecessarily. If you recall, when we were learning the first concept, it was clearly told that firm must ensure that idle finance are not being raised. It is lighting on the same thing, that ensuring that firm do not raise funds unnecessarily. Unnecessary funds are also called idle funds. Let's see what would it say in explaining. Excess funding is as bad as inadequate funding. This was the line we were learning in the beginning. The same line is coming. The line is trying to make us understand that excess fund, that is something extra, is equally bad like an inadequate fund. Inadequate fund is an example when business is not having sufficient fund. Same way excess fund is also leading to wasteful expenditure. So when you do a good financial plan, you have to ensure that excess funds are not there, because excess funds are also as bad as inadequate funding. A good financial plan always ensures that surplus money, which is about excess fund, surplus money are kept in best possible use. Otherwise, idle money will raise the fixed cost. Because if you have surplus money and that is not being used, remember that fund must have come from certain sources, and that source is going to add the cost. So good financial planner will always ensure that whatever surplus money are left with the organization, that should be kept in best possible use. Otherwise, that idle money will raise the fixed cost of the organization. Concluding this, that's why every business organization has to do financial plan. That is, financial planning is must. So what do we learn from this objective of financial planning? Financial planning ensures that availability of funds whenever required. That means we need to have right quantity of fund at right time from a possible source, and we also have to ensure that firms are not having excess finance, because excess finance always. So now we have completed 3 parts of our learning, that is the topic of financial planning. Our first part, the concept of financial planning. Our second part was about the difference between financial management and financial planning, and we have just completed the objectives of financial planning. The last part of this topic is called importance of financial planning. Now, I am not saying that previous 3 topics which I have taught are of less importance and this is of more importance. But if you compare the scores of both, this question has asked frequently more time in comparison to others which I have taught right now. So I want you to give more attention. The importance of financial planning question will be summarized in 7 points, and every point will be having a specific word in the uppercase which will make you understand the theme of that area. Let's see the first one. Why financial planning is important? Because financial planning tries to forecast what may happen under different business situation, because by doing so, it will help the firm to face eventual situation in a better way. Let's spare a minute to understand this point thoroughly. Say for an example, a statement is coming from any of the industry expert that the growth is perceived at 8%. When I say growth is perceived at 8%, that does not mean that the growth of the business will be exactly at 8%. The growth could be 16%, growth could also be 5%. But when you get this kind of data, it is most important that you have to prepare for the same. And financial planning helps in forecasting that what may happen under different business situation, and it helps you to face the eventual situation. Eventual means real situation in a better way. Moving towards the second one, financial planning helps in avoiding shocks and surprises of the business and helps in companies to prepare for the future. Now this avoiding shocks and surprises, my dear friend, is actually a phrase of a financial term. No business will be happy if they face an unexpected loss. Similarly, they will not be happy with unexpected profit. You may say, sir, what is wrong with unexpected profit? That is always good with the business. Well, my dear friends, you need to know the reason that what lead you to this kind of profit. If you remain always unknown to this kind of factor, that is showing that the financial planning of the organization is absolutely baseless. In that scenario, when you do a proper financial plan, it always helps you to avoid shocks and surprises of the business, as I've said, unexpected loss or unexpected profits of the business. Moving to third point, my dear friends, financial planning also helps in coordinating various business functions for providing clear policies. Now you all understand that there are certain functions that a business has to perform. Marketing division is there, finance division is there, sales division is there, research and development division is there. No department works in an isolation. Everyone has to work in a synchronized manner, and that's why we use the word coordination. So in that scenario, financial planning plays a very important role, that it coordinates the functions of different departments and they provide clear policies. Till now we have completed 3 points. It helps in forecasting, it helps in avoiding shocks and surprises, and it also helps in coordinating various business functions. Cruising towards the fourth one, financial planning also helps in preparing detailed action plan so that wastage of resources and gaps in planning can be reduced. So what do I mean by wastage of resources and gaps in planning? My dear friend, every organization is having certain resources. Money resources there, men resources there, material resources there, machinery based resources are there. Now, no organization will be willing to make waste of these resources. As we don't waste food at our home or outside, similarly organization is also always worried about the resources. Financial planning is one of those key factors which helps you to prepare a detailed action plan. Whenever you have a detailed action plan ensure that wastage of resources are reduced and gaps in planning are absolutely nullified. Moving towards the fifth one, financial planning tries to link present with the future. Now you have to understand this line. This may look very small, but many of the time in my past experience I have seen students making mistake replacing word with future and present. That's never happened in my life. Financial planning always trying to link present with the future. If I have to summarize this line in a simplistic way, it helps you to understand where we are and where we want to be. Say for an example, Reliance Industries right now at X number of amount and they want to capture 50% of revenue in upcoming 5 years. So this is their present situation which they are aiming with the future situation. And obviously in that, who is helping them? None other than financial planning. After completing 5 points, now we are moving towards the 6th point. 6th point says financial planning is acting as a main link between investment and financing decision on continuous basis. My dear friends, as you know, every financial decisions are having 3 important decisions: investment decision, financing decision, and dividend decision. For that matter, we are trying to put dividend decision on a side, and it is left with 2 important decisions: investment decision and financing decision. As you know, when I say investment decision, it's all about where to put our money. And when I say about financing decision, from where to raise that money. And in this thing, a key link is always performed by financial planning. Hence it is called that financial planning acting as a main link between investment and financing decision on a continuous basis. The last point in this entire learning of question comes as financial planning helps in preparing detailed financial objective for better evaluation of actual performance. Now this point will require a minute of a learning in a thorough manner. Say for an example, a finance manager is allocating 15 crore of budget to a production manager and asking him to ensure that entire production target must be achieved in that 15 crore. At the end of the 3 month or 4 month when the target comes to an end, the finance manager may ask for a review, did you complete the target in the given budget or not? Say for an example, if budget was sanctioned as 15 crore rupees, which is our objective, and the target is achieved in the same manner, then we can say we are having the evaluation of actual performance. Because if we are having actual performance in our hand, but if we do not have any kind of objective, then the comparison does not serve any kind of purpose. So financial planning is actually acting as a detailed financial objective so that evaluation of actual performance becomes easier. Hence we conclude the entire learning of importance of financial planning, which is a very important question from board's perspective. I would like to throw a main area that what are the words you should remember while learning this question. Financial planning helps in forecasting what may happen under different business situation and helps a business organization to face eventual situation in a better way. Cruising at second. Financial planning also helps in avoiding shocks and surprises of the business, which I have already said that those are unexpected profits and loss. Financial planning also helps in coordinating various functions of the business. Financial planning is also helps in preparing detailed action plan so that wastage of resource and gaps in planning can be reduced. Financial planning is always linking present with the future, which we call where we are and where we want to be. At 6th point, financial planning is helping us in continuously linking the investment and financing decision. And at the last, at the bottom, financial planning is helping in preparing a detailed financial objective so that evaluation of actual performance becomes easier. So my dear friends, what we have understood from the topic of financial planning? Well, the topic was carrying 4 different parts. First, we have understood the definition. Second, we were understanding the difference. Third was the objectives, and fourth were the importance. And quickly glancing through everything. Financial planning is the financial blueprint of organization future financial operation. Financial planning is absolutely different from financial management because management is concerned with procurement and usage. Financial planning is about forecasting. Objectives of financial planning are to right quantity of funds should be available at right time, and firms should always avoid idle finance. And when it comes to importance, which is a very important thing, it is actually summarized by 7 keywords. It helps in forecasting, avoiding shocks and surprises, coordinating business function, preparing detailed action plan, linking present with the future, linking investment and financing decision on continuous basis, preparing detailed financial objectives so that evaluation of actual performance become easier. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe and share our channel on maximum basis.